All right, welcome everyone. I hope you all had a very good night of sleep and that you are fully energized for the second day of this seminar. Yesterday was a long day. I think all of us were a little bit tired. But today we will have very interesting sessions as well. And we will start today with Filomena Djassi. She has a degree in social work and is a PhD researcher. She founded the Musqueta movement in Guinea-Bissau and continued to work of this association in Portugal with intervention campaigns, training and awareness actions. She worked in the area of training for migrants, particularly with regards to prevention of harmful practices. I would like to say to the panel, be very strict, and I will be very strict. So please, your presentation can last for 15 minutes, and I will stop you afterwards. So please take that into account, okay? The floor is yours.
First of all, thank you everybody and thank you for the organization for inviting me and to be in this wonderful panel that we have yesterday, and I went so inspired. And today, I hope contribute for the reflection about how diaspora are contributing in to stop with FGM. In Portuguese is different. And how is the action we are having, and as well how is the strategy we are taking in place to achieve a movement of people that can work together side by side in the diaspora context, but as well in partnership with the countries who they come from. First of all, we need to realize we are in the migrant context. Immigrant contexts have challenges. And regarded to economical inclusion, social inclusion, cultural inclusion. When you go to the country, then it's not yours. In the diaspora, you hear, it's not my country, but I need to try to achieve the better, because in my country, people, they are waiting for that. People, they are thinking here in Europe is the place, in Europe, in America also ever, is the place you will succeed in life, and then you will help them. Normally they say, oh, because we are poor. Not poor in terms of resources, but it's just because I don't have the opportunity to go to a developed country. But then the history is not what we think in both sides. When you come here, if you don't have a network, if your family is still there, if you don't have education, if you don't have a lot of things everybody knows, or if you don't know, it's very difficult for you as a migrant to succeed. Regardless to your color, because it's something exterior from you and you are already discriminated, and as well for the competence then supposedly you need in this capitalist market. And of course the immigrants have such a challenge that is really difficult to work and to try to be engaged in the movement and change the world and change everything. It's what we are asking in this kind of, even if it's important. I'm not putting here the importance of the thematic. I'm just putting in question, when we question why women, they are not just involved, it's not just because they are affected, but it's all of these kind of things they are challenged. And everybody who is here, we need to choose our fight. And if we choose our fight, how we can ask others, no, you have to fight for this. This is the first question. I have some thought, I don't have some answer for, true answer for that. What I have in my experience, who work in a migrant context, not just to end FGM, but as well to help immigrants to integrate in a better way, to use their talent, to use their competence. What I discover is not just the technical competence, but to have this social mobility, or in sense, I can receive some recognition about my peers or about people who live in here. You can do this through culture, through more knowledge, through engage them in association. This you can do in the simple way of participation, in this umbrella big of participation. And we see a lot of people coming from diaspora, in the way for them to integrate. The network is linking with their peers, with their families here in their context. But when we speak in participation, it's not just for them, it's something bigger in terms. We have the escada, how you say? Okay, stairs to participation. But the thing is, the first place is like, we need to realize where I am and what I want to fight, what I want to participate in. Most of people don't choose FGM to fight at the beginning, because a lot of motive. It's because it's not is a practical of sometimes you don't know about it. Simply, you are from not that culture. And when we speak about FGM, we think just because we are rotulated, we are from this culture, we should know. But even if I'm from another culture, I don't know anything about it. It's not even my concern. And you cannot come to me and say, you need to fight for that, because I will not. And then even if I'm of that culture, as well, yesterday is everything about fear and so on. But sometimes it's more simple. It's about, I don't feel strong enough to fight for that. And I prefer to live my life and fight for better life, have more money, try to find, because it's already settled. And if she have to do it, I understand it's for her better future. And we cannot judge this. Even the problem is important. I'm just trying to bring to the debate different things. One thing is the way we should fight by FGM, but other is understand the context of people in situation. And when we ask something, we should ask ourselves first. Here in Portugal, just for you to have idea, have a study with Nova University, and they found we have here almost 8,000 women that are submitted to this FGM, and as well 1,800 children who as well, they are submit or they are in risk to be submitted. And the majority, they live in the Great Lisbon. Oh God, now will be difficult. It's okay. And the majority, they live in Lisbon. In Lisbon, we have different places. But most of them, they are more with type 2 and 1. The type 1 is more the remotion of the clitoris. The type 2 is the big lips that is around. But most of, okay, I will go there. And these women, they are natural from different places of Great Lisbon. Normally, is the place, of course, immigrants go when they have more networks, no? Networks so they can find jobs. And normally we are speaking about Sintra, Lourdes, Amadora, Odivelas, Lisbon, Cascais, Vila Franca, Oeiras. This is not this organization of place, maybe you are not related because you are not from Lisbon, but it's important in the sense those places, they are related with the immigrant problem. They are already, it's a place, yesterday one guy went to see a house in Sintra and say, oh, if I want to live in Africa, I should buy a ticket to live there. I cannot live in Africa here in Lisbon. This is the connotation that you have for those places. This what means the immigrants, they are close inside their culture. This is something as well important when you think you go to fight for some type of changes and promote participation. And as well, Sintra is a place where I work, and is a place, and we have most of the immigrants who are submitted in these type of practice. They are almost 34 in terms of the total amount of people. And this training, I was engaged in a lot of trainings. Then I think I can speak about propriedade, about knowledge or about experience about it. I was engaged in Guinea, I was engaged here, and I was one of the, because I speak a lot. I'm shy, but normally I speak. When I think I need to speak, I speak. And at the beginning, with the project slowly start, I thought, oh, but it needs to someone speak about it. It's not why we are hiding. And because my mother told me I was submit, but I didn't know why I was submit or what is the problem. The only thing I know is I don't have any problem at all. But not having any problem at all is not mean I'm shy. It just means I don't understand anything. And this is something we need to start to realize after we say we need to fight and something. It's not the things we know. Normally speak, and this is not just about MJF, but is about a lot of different problems. And but the project who I like more, or I think they bring some changes in the way of we do intervention at a community level. It's called SHOT. It's a project who happen in different countries of Europe. And it's about changing attitude and fostering the dialogue to prevent FGM. And a lot of partners, the leader was an Italian partner, but here in Portugal is APF, Associação Planeamento Familiar. And the interesting thing of this is, first of all, it's what the strategy they use to speak with about this question. They use health, and they use it's against the, não vou dizer a questão do género, direitos humanos, human rights. She's always correct me. Okay. What was interesting, it's as well the way they speak with this. We speak on the trainings because they use 3 phases. The phases is the employees, they are people from the community. It's not, I will use a racist terminology. It's not just white people who are specialists, but no, it's professional like me or other colleagues from from different professionals. Okay, you come here, you want to work in this, we make a contract, like a technician from the project. And this was a huge step. And as well, they didn't bring all the framework organized. We are the ones who organize the training. We are the ones who know the community, and we are the ones who already was trained about MJF, because the concept of course is different. all of us, we study at the university to get concept. And as well, we need to do it. It's not quite a different. I don't born knowing what is MJF in that sense. And then this, what was very, very important, is we discussed in all this training with our own language. Different type of language, Fula, Mandinga, Creole, and what's so interesting, maybe it's shock for a lot of people, but I think the base to start conversation is have people who say, no, I'm in favor of MJF. And this starts a conversation because it's a fight of idea, it's a fight of construction and understand our culture should evolve. But you cannot say everybody say yes, 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 yes. No, you need this kind of confrontation. And in this as well was important, not just the communicating in the same language, but working, defend and condemn basis in scientific proof, and as well have the experience to use this knowledge and for them to realize the project with others. What this bring and was, I think, was more successful. Because for you to bring these changes, you need a movement of thinking is the way of things change. And sometimes the movement is really hard. You go to all the community and make that. No, here in Portugal, because as well we have the lucky or the context that we don't have the pressure of our country. We have the pressure or the opportunity to be here, and here give us opportunity to think about our culture in an environment that can help us and protect us and not put us like on the street, go fight and stop speaking with your family and have all the consequence of most of you speak. But for this process, I think as well, just have place because in Portugal changed the politics. I do agree, it's important to have programs and organizations who speak about it, because if they speak at the beginning, some of the women say, why they are speaking about our culture? Why it's always, they think they are better than us, why is the problem? But now it's them to speak about their culture, but with property. And, I'm running. And just to finish, I think the basis for the community intervention, of course, all have different strategy and intervention, but I think it's really important the coherence of the strategy you put in place. I think it's really important if you want to speak the theme, even you speak all your life, I think it's important to engage people who have other thoughts different and they are training to think that. And I think it's very important to put them in healthy environment, not like we all have to speak, because to build a movement is a step. It's not something we can do very, very quickly. And as well, the concept I want to here share with you, and with that, maybe it's about pluralism. Pluralism, for me, it's a very important concept in terms of realizing we are all different. Even I'm Guinean, I'm different from I'm Fula and Mandinga, but even for me, I don't know really what that means because I live here in Europe. I'm Portuguese because I live all my life here. All my life I speak the language. I have my friends. I do everything as a Portuguese, and I live in a Europe context because I travel a lot, and I like my life here. And I think that gives me the ability to work with others, but understand, like, we are different, accept that different, but as well understand we should contribute, but contribute with learning, with experience, and in the big network that we all will construct, I think. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. The next speaker is Carla Martingo. Oh, sorry, I didn't know.
Sorry, because she has to go. I would like to make one question, but Elise can get first.
Thank you, Filomena, for your amazing intervention. I would like to understand a little bit more about the impact of your initiative, your leadership with the community from Guinea-Bissau or from other countries.
Okay. Maybe just to focus here in diaspora, because I think in diaspora we are trying to put in agenda how our participation can have impact in the community that we are making part, in the country we are making part. I think when maybe try to be an example, of course, these need more deep thoughts. I'm just bringing some of things then we can see in practical, okay? What I feel, not just from me, because it's from other leaders. It's not just me here, I'm just represented, but I can tell you names of people who are working from the community. And one thing is step up. The other thing is understand, and I feel strong to speak about this because I have knowledge about it. The other thing is because I make part of this movement that we can cultivate knowledge and understand, I think, the culture is not something that is just transmit, but is something that in the contemporary perspective you can change. And knowing that, it's mean I can put in conversation what I think is important. And I think the impact starts there. Start there not in the big movement, but is the important. I have a girl who have a training, and she was saying, oh, this is so hard, but it's so important, because sometimes I start speaking, and here their target is family and friends. Or maybe some of them is the mosque they are making part, or is the small organization they are part. They don't put all the community. Is the way who me and my group, we can reach near. And I think the impact it's this conversation brings, like in Tapada das Mercedes, the place and I work, like happened in Guinea, they speak yesterday, the imam, because I'm Muslim as well, the imam, he starts saying MJF is something that cannot happen. It's not in the Quran, and he deconstructs the Quran. But nobody of here know already, because you are not there, you don't know what they are saying. And some of the lady, maybe they will not say that because she don't know what is the understanding of the imam. But I can say that because I'm there and I'm think about it. And I think this is the starting point of conversation. Of course, change the community for community, like women from Guinea-Bissau, they are not women that speak in public. It's cultural. And we cannot ask them there. But we can ask them in the small group that we have to discuss. In particular, I have a lot of women, they come to me, and their question is, I will go to Africa with my kids, and I don't know which kind of excuse I have to make. And we train without a problem. It's not like, oh, you cannot do MJF. Yeah, we realize, yeah, if you go there, oh, you have a problem. It's sure. And assume that different. And then we make a lot of role playings and try a lot of excuses. We are asking, because we don't feel we know all the knowledge. The knowledge is something constructed. And I think this, if I say if it is impact, is this opportunity for us to construct our culture. And I feel, in my perspective, as a Guinean, Guinea-Bissau, because Guineans sometimes is from Guinea-Conakry, as from Guinea-Bissau, is this movement of thinking our culture and opportunity to change our culture, I think.
Just one small question. Okay. What do you think is the role of the new Afro-descendant movements that are emerging in Portuguese society in engaging communities like the Guinea-Bissau community?
Okay, we are...
Do you participate in those movements? Do you think it's important to have a wider framework, not just focusing on specific practices, but also other cultural and social issues?
Okay, this is a very interesting question, because I don't know if you are feeling, but here in Europe, the African, they are, for me, it's like the movement who have in the beginning of to changing the colonies, all the thinkers in Africa to say what is being African, all the Pan-Africanist movement, today is the same. Is the same with people who are already born here. And they use a lot of corporal expression like the hair. Oh, I want to do the afro, because why I don't do the afro? It's not because it's beautiful, no. And why I don't use African clothes? Because now you can see the trend. And now what I realize is it's a more deeper thing if we need to put as well our culture. But you have a problem, is what is our culture? Because most of us, me no, but most of them, my sister and so on, they born here. And the culture is not something fixed. Even our parents say, oh, you are Guinea-Bissau, you have to do this. But we have friends in school, we are building the culture. And I think the struggle is building the culture. And when you have to build what is your culture, you have a lot of things and a lot of fights to go through. And now what I feel is it's more, it's bringing the expression. And what I feel is people who are more rooted in the community from their country, they fight MJF or they fight things that come from culture from Africa. Youngsters then already live here, and sometimes they don't live with the family, they live with the adoptive family. They fighting to try what is this African identity. It's more choosing what is the fight. But I think in this moment, writing books and the social media is a powerful place on this movement is bringing to light, and I'm glad for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, and sorry to have to go.
Thank you very much. Then we will go to the next speaker, Carla Martingo, and she works for the High Commission for Migrants in the Intercultural Dialogue Desk. She holds a degree in history, a master in international relations, and has professional experience in intercultural mediation, as well as in the areas of diversity and interculturality in workplace and school context. The floor is yours. Maybe Ricardo can help with the presentation.
Well, good morning to all. I'm quite honored to be here with you because a lot of you are the names I've studied when I made my master on FGM, so it's an honor to be here with you and share all the findings and the work we've been done here in Portugal. So my presentation is centered on leadership and voices against FGM. Previous to sharing what we think about it, this is some data on migration in Portugal. We have about 3.9% of migrants, legal migrants, living in Portugal. This number has been decreasing for the past years because, as you know, due to the crisis, Portugal is not such an attractive country. But like in other countries, we are facing the same trend of having more women than men within the migrant communities. Actually, they are 52%. This is a chart that shows it. Although migration is decreasing, women stay above 50%. Filomena has said it already. There are data on FGM in Portugal, studies. The first one from CESNOVA give these numbers. It's estimated that 5,246 people, women in fertile age, live with an FGM in the country. The Lisbon district, like Filomena said, also represents 70% of those women, and it's the same for migration as a whole. The district of Lisbon has the majority of migrants living in it. In the Lisbon district, 90% live in the municipalities of Sintra, Loures, Odivelas, Amadora, Lisboa, and Cascais. Based upon this, and also this study on girls at risk, we have also the same trends as CESNOVA has said, around the same number, and we have two scenarios, high risk and low risk of facing FGM. So, basing on these numbers and this scenario, we thought it's very important to have an intervention that's territorialized in the municipalities where the problem is more needed, and identifying networks and partnerships of projects that are already there or are willing to intervene in that territory. And also, within them, key persons that can be agents of change in their communities. Those leaderships that I talk about. For that, we have, I bring you only two projects we were engaged in. One of them was a movie that we mailed in an award that was given by the Commission for Equality. We received the second place. We have a very small budget, so everyone that intervened in this film did it voluntarily. They wanted to give their voices to be part of the movement against the FGM. It was made by the ASPAS, an NGO that is settled in Amadora, along with PD Factor, another organization that works mainly with Guinea-Bissau migrants in the Sintra area, and the precious help of the Committee Against Harmful Practice of Guinea-Bissau with Our Lady Fatoumata as one of the voices for the end of the FGM. This is the list of persons that were involved. We have men, women, young girls, older women. We want to give a wide range of who can talk against the FGM and give reasons why it can succeed. And these are some of the faces. One of them, this one here, is the leader of the organization of Sintra. This one is an entrepreneur. And Professor Malam Djassi was very crucial also from the committee from Guinea-Bissau, because there for 2 weeks, Fatoumata Jabalde and the professor were in the neighborhood speaking with people, with persons, with religious leaders on FGM. And they brought us some ideas and some status of situation that made us quite worried. And one of the things they said that the speech they found when they went to the neighborhoods was the same they found in Guinea in the 80s years, 1998. So it's quite scary to see how we are still doing here in the especially in the neighborhoods. The other project is Senhoras de Si. I don't know how to translate it. All of ladies, empowered ladies. It was promoted by PD Factor also, with the municipality of Cascais, one of the areas where we have a major group of women living in FGM, in a neighborhood where these women live this group. We started with around 15. In the end, we have 10 women that were with us until the end. This project was held during 4 months, from January to March to June 2016. And every Saturday we sat with them in the afternoon or in the morning, depending on the willing or their availability to be with us. And we talked about several issues. FGM was only one of the issues and came in the end of our approach. So the themes we use for the trainings and the sessions, because we talk about sessions and not trainings, because I think we talk about too much training, and this was sections and talks and so on. These were the themes they decided were important to work. For instance, concept and social role, what is to be a lady, what is to be a man, the role of the family, the role of children, domestic violence, family budgeting, how to make the home budgeting, and financial literacy, for instance, when they borrow money from an entity, to know what the taxes mean, what the taxes mean in the end of the money they received. We had a session of a makeup. We had a trainer, a colleague, mine, that went in and teach her how to make them makeup. So they make their own makeup. They stayed very beautiful. And after the session, we had a professional photographer that took photographies, and we gave them to them. So they could have something. If they want to go to an interview, they have a picture, a beautiful picture they can present, for instance, in the interview or whatever. Or for the end, if they want to use. How to speak in public, because it's very important that if you want to have some kind of leadership, you can communicate, because they know a lot, but problem sometimes is how they communicate what they know. Personal marketing and leadership, labor legislation. We had a lawyer that went in and started to see each problem a woman had, she gave an answer. For instance, the payroll sheet. She explains what were the values they were receiving and so on. So it was there were sessions very practical and in responses to needs. Women and child health, and as I said, harmful practice came in the end. And I bring here some of the key findings of these interventions and the work that we've been done. It contributes for discussion. Filomena talks about some interventions, ours. I think it's a little bit different because we have another form of seeing things or starting things. Our starting point when we start interventions is more than seeing victims or persons at risk of being victims. We see warriors and we see women, very strong women. Each one of them is a very strong woman since the beginning. And this is an idea, this worked since the beginning. All those strong points are valued and they start recognition of what those start points are. What are the problems they face? The majority of them live and work in the informal sector, in cleaning and so on. Those who have qualifications, the most of the time don't see them recognized, so they can practice their profession. And since they are in informal sectors, their rights are not always protected in terms of labor. So to invest them and to tackle all these issues is the best way to have leaders that strong fight against FGM and other harmful practice. Other concern that we have, and we think it's important, is that to assure that this women intervention is a win-win situation, because it's a win situation for the project that can achieve their roles and prevent even that FGM continues, but also a win situation for those women participate to be not to see their problems solved or have some kind of retribution for the time they give, because they're giving their time to participate in interventions. For instance, in URHC, we have a small amount for a fee. They didn't were expecting it, although we had a small budget. It was for us it was a principal that we argued with the municipality, that at the beginning was not very eager to go along with us, to have a small fee for them, because their time is precious and they are giving their time to be with us. It was not very huge because we couldn't do it, but it was the intention that made the difference. And also, we gave them some kind of gifts. For instance, in the makeup session, we give each one a mirror and makeup stuff, putting the face and so on. So they went home with something. For us, it was important. Or a calculator when they were in the financial session. As I said here, retribution must not be the reason to tackle FGM, as it's important that their effort and commitment is retributed. Another thing that's very important to stress that migrant women are not an homogeneous group, and we face them, for instance, in Cascais. We have people from Guinea-Bissau, Senegal, older, younger, some that came in family reunion, some that came along with their personal project of living. So everything of this has implications in how we work with those women. Regarding the women itself, we have different inequalities with them. So in that group also in Cascais, it was very clear that all the women sometimes didn't allow the youngest to speak. It was a struggle, a constant struggle to give them voice and space. But by the end of the project, they could already speak. But in the beginning, it was very complicated to give them space and working with all the women to understand that those younger women has all the right to speak and stand for their rights and ideas. Another issue that came with the trainings is the issue of violence. Violence tends to be a normal pattern. Violence, domestic violence, intergenerational violence, gender-based violence. When we talk with them, violence seems to be normal in their communities. So this is very important to intervene in this area of migrant communities. Another key issue for us is if you want to have leaders to speak against FGM, it's important they can speak Portuguese. They can transmit to others what they thought and what the ways to overcome FGM. Why? Because otherwise they know a lot, but they can't participate, for instance, in meetings with other professionals, in sessions, and so on. Because although they come, for instance, we come from Guinea-Bissau, it's what was a former Portuguese colony, where Portuguese the speaking official language. In practice, it doesn't happen. They understand, but they don't speak very well. So here, the Portuguese language training for us is a way of empowering those women. Another issue that was very clear for us is that what we wanted by the end of the project. What we ended by the end of the project that those women wouldn't need the technicians that are in place with their projects. Why? Because if we work with a woman, and by the end of 4 months, she doesn't need to go to that lady that is from the municipality to help them, and goes directly to the service that can help them, then we have a very success. So it's a way, it reflects that she now can solve their own problems. And empowerment is that also. Another thing that's very important to us is that most groups live in neighborhoods, close neighborhoods, and they don't go outside. For instance, Women de la Cascais was when we had the final visit through Cascais with the bus and so on. It was the first time they had left the neighborhood since they came to Portugal. So they are confined in small spaces, and the idea they have from the origin country was the one they left. And it's like that in their head, and nothing has changed. Also, to empower women and to make them participate in organizations, civic movement, and so on. And here we have to work with men because sometimes they only participate because men let them participate. So this is an issue we have to invest also. And if you want leaders to talk about FGM, we want to have leaders, they must be recognized by other professionals as peers, as they are having the same role. Being a migrant leader has the same impact or even more than a health professional that's struggling against FGM. And very quickly, I'm talking about women leadership, but there are all other important leadership. The religious leaderships, for instance, Professor Malin was one, is a very good example. And the work is done with the imams here in Portugal, those community leaders, and by the political leaders. And we have, for instance, in Portugal, the good luck of having a Secretary of State who is very committed to the end of FGM, and also municipalities. For instance, Amadora is addressing the issue, Cascais already did it, and for Sintra also. That's all. Thank you.